Gentlelady from Missouri, Ms. Wagner, is recognized for 5 minutes.
I thank you very much, Chairman Fitzpatrick and Ranking Member Lynch. Thank you for your support and your dedication. I am grateful to Chairman Hensarling for reinstituting this task force, and to all of you, our panelists, for your service and for joining us today to go over the current landscape of terrorist financing, which is quickly changing and growing. I had the privilege and the honor of serving for 4 years as a United States ambassador in one of the financial hubs of Western Europe, which was Luxembourg. And Zarate, we worked on a few things together, and I must tell you, stopping terrorist financing as a United States ambassador during that time period was probably some of the most rewarding work that I have ever done, and I am thrilled to be a member of this task force. Since arriving in Congress, I've taken on another top priority in addition to the work I do on financial services and on other committees, and that is to combat human trafficking domestically here in the United States and abroad. I'm very glad to hear that the Senate has reached an agreement to move forward on important legislation addressing human trafficking here in the U.S. However, it is an even greater problem abroad, and I saw this firsthand as a United States ambassador, and reports indicate that terrorist groups are engaging in it, both to produce revenue for their organizations and to decimate communities that they occupy. Groups such as ISIL and Boko Haram have been known to kidnap women and children and either sell them, as we've talked about a little bit here in terms of the kidnapping, or keep them as slaves. To what extent, and I'll open this up to all of our panels, to what extent is human trafficking occurring among terrorist groups, and how is this being used as a source of terrorist financing?
I mean, one perspective is that certainly I think it's occurring with every major organization we're talking about, so it is a problem. It's not their only source of revenue. My sense is where the most significant components of revenue come from are in extortion and ransom paid as part of human trafficking efforts. And we've seen groups like Boko Haram do this, Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb do this, is seize individuals as part of human trafficking networks and then sell them. So I think this is one issue. I'm not entirely convinced this has been a major effort of our intelligence community and our military in targeting them, certainly not as much as they could.
I would agree, and that's why I ask, are there any that you're aware of, any current policies or activities, both in the U.S. or internationally, that are being utilized to crack down on human trafficking by terrorist organizations in order to receive that revenue and that terrorist financing money?
Madam Ambassador, it's great seeing you again.
Good to see you.
Thank you for your work in Luxembourg. The key work done in banking centers around the world after 9/11 was critical, so thank you. I think what you've seen with human trafficking is that it's been handled in 3 categories. One is as sort of its own niche issue, and so it hasn't been seen as a broader dimension of the problem of terrorist financing or illicit financing writ large. Secondly, it's seen in the context of particular conflicts or crises, and so you get a lot of focus, when it comes to Syria, for example, or particular crises. And then third, where it does touch terrorism and illicit conduct, it's largely in the ransom context, as Seth said. And so you don't have an overarching sense of, okay, let's look at human trafficking from the perspective of a major source of illicit finance for not just terrorist groups, but transnational organized crime groups that are often aligned with or operating in parallel with these terrorist groups. And when I talk about in my testimony needing to look for new allies in the international system, this is precisely what I'm talking about. It may not be that we need an overarching sanctions regime around this issue, but we do need to coalesce around the issues that are providing sources of funding for terrorist groups, wildlife trafficking, human trafficking, antiquities, where you do have communities of interest that have information, that have the ability to shut it down, and we need to empower them as part of a broader strategy.
Well, and I appreciate that, and I would ask the Chairman that this is something that we can certainly as a group and as a task force look into in terms of more that can be done to restrict specifically human trafficking and the money that's being realized by these groups. Briefly, I know it's been touched on, I just want to say, and you brought it up, about the sale of artifacts and antiquities. This is a growing area, and I would say it's the Islamic State's second source of terrorist financing. I've been working with some key outside groups. I know that and stakeholders, they're going to be meeting with the committee and doing some briefings, and I look forward to following up on this. This is an untouched area, but in the art world, antiquities and artifacts, second leading source in terms of terrorist financing, and is again something that I look forward to the committee to be briefed on and delving into. So I appreciate all of your time and service. Thank you, Mr.
Appreciate the
Chairman.
gentleman's
I
work
yield
in this
back.
area.